The thoughts and opinions shared in this podcast are just that. It's up to the listener to decide what is true and what is not true. This podcast talks about domestic violence and death. It contains adult themes and coarse language. If you need help or you are affected by such issues, you can contact your nearest help centre, such as Lifeline on 131114 or DV Connect on 1800 811 811. Discretion is advised.
Go, mate.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right, bro. Just the two papers, thanks,
Two
mate.
gimpies?
Yep.
And that's $5, thank you. There you go.
Hope it was the right thing then. I might have fat fingers, mate. Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it's happy. There you go.
Cheers, mate. Have a good one, eh? So I just got a copy of the Gympie Times, page 14. End of the road for BVR. There you go.
G'day guys, and welcome to the final episode of Beenham Valley Road. I'm Jamie Poltz, and this is episode 11, End of the Road. Whilst planning this episode, my head has been spinning. Just trying to finish the podcast in the right way. So I did what I always do when I need to gather my thoughts, and I went to the beach. It was a sunny morning, the gentle lapping of the waves, the taste of salt in the air, and the endless blue on the horizon. It's a perfect place to think. There is so much to this case, so many moving parts. With all that in mind, however, it comes down to just one question. What happened to Kirra? It's a question that I may just have the answer for.
Got myself a piece of heaven. I'm gonna take you to the river. I'm gonna build it a red.
One person you've probably heard me mention a few times now is Jessie. Jessie is Tamika's niece. And as I was preparing to air this episode, I reached out to Jessie one last time. I thought her version would be crucial. She was actually there at Kirra's house on the 16th of July 2014. And one day recently, Jessie got back to me and said, "You can call me in 15 minutes if you like." So I pulled over and I gave her a call. Here she is.
My name is Jessie. I'm the niece of Kirra.
Okay. And how old were you when Kirra died?
I was 17 just before my 18th birthday.
Right. And how old are you now, Jessie?
23.
Basically, you were there, Jessie. You were at that house that night with Kirra, Tamika, and are you able to, in your best memory of 5 years ago, in your own words, are you able to describe or let us know what happened that night in as much detail as you're happy to provide?
Yep. So Tamika and her daughter and I came up and met Kirra at the shops.
Was this in Gympie, sorry?
At her house. Yeah, in Gympie, at her house or at Kirra's house, and then we all went to the shops. This is the first time I met Kirra as well. We went to the shops. They bought themselves, Kirra bought themselves some cheap wine or whatever it was. And then we went back to Kirra's. They just showed me the house, told me how they were starting their own business.
What was that business?
It had something to do with like cars or motorbikes or something. It was in the shed, and they were just showing me their tools and everything. Yeah. And then, so they just did that, and then everyone just started drinking. I wasn't drinking because obviously underage and because I just don't like this wine. And everyone was kind of just having, a good time. Those three were very drunk, especially Kirra, because I remember it being mentioned to me clearly that Kirra does not drink or anything like that. It's like a rare occasion for her to ever drink. And I remember the argument started because I was sitting in the lounge room with Tamika and the child, and I was sitting at the dining room table at the chair closest to the sliding door, and Kirra was standing in front of him. They were bickering about something, and then Kirra threw a packet of cigarettes or smokes at, and which made Tamika stand up and walked over to Kirra and said, like, you can't talk to my brother like that, or do that to my brother, or just something like that. Then they started arguing, and then they walked out onto the balcony because it started escalating, like yelling, and the small child was in the house. She was just watching the movie, though. I stood...
That's Tamika's child, right, Charlie?
Yes. I stood at the sliding door where would have originally been sitting with the door closed, so I can still keep an eye on Charlie, but just to watch and make sure that those three, like, didn't get in a massive altercation or full-on punch-on or anything like that.
Right.
And so they were just arguing ridiculously, childishly, really. Kirra was very drunk. She just kept going to Tamika. She threw a glass at Tamika. I can't remember what came first, either the chain or the glass, but I'm pretty sure it was the glass. She threw it at Tamika, and it smashed over Mika. Mika shoved Kirra back in the chest. Kirra fell, like, just flat on her bum. And
She fell flat on her bum.
yeah, so not like laying down or anything, just like flat on her bum. But she wouldn't have fallen flat back on her back or anything because she was standing behind her the whole time. So she just fell straight on her bum with behind her. Then she got back up, was trying to hold Kirra. So Kirra probably would have had bruises, hand marks on her, finger marks on her arms because she was holding her back, and she was really trying to go Mika. And I think that's when she's grabbed a chain or something with what arm space she possibly could have and tried to hit Mika or throw it at her again. I remember Kirra falling on her bum about twice, but each time she did so behind her the whole time because she was trying to hold Kirra back. At some point, she's grabbed the paint can as well. The lid was off of the paint can. So when she lifted her arm up to throw it, it's poured all over herself and the front of and the back of Kirra and her head. And she's thrown that at Mika. And then, yeah, I don't know, Mika ended up coming inside once it just became too much, and we called Jane, my grandmother, so Mika's mother, to come pick us up. She picked us up, and Mika and Charlie and I, we all left at the same time. And then we were at her house for a while, and then ended up going back. But when we left, I know Kirra was, like, pretty fine because she was screaming like a crazy person out the door or the window or whatever as we were leaving. And then, yeah, we were just at Jane's house, and then ended up going back there by himself. And then from what happened then, I don't know.
When you got to Kirra's house, was Jane with you at all? Did Jane come for any part of the afternoon?
No, I don't think so. I don't.
So
I don't remember. I'm not sure. If she.
You're not sure?
Yeah, I'm not sure. She could have, but I really don't know. I just remember her picking us up that afternoon. That night.
Yeah. And do you remember what car she picked you up in?
It was just a white car. I don't remember the make or anything of it, model of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think she said that, I haven't spoken to Jane, but I've got her statement that she wrote to Tamika, which Tamika gave to me, and it mentions that she was there that afternoon, and then she was cleaning the house, and then she, had a few drinks with everybody, and then decided to leave, and gave her a few beers, and she left, and then that's when, a few hours later or an hour or two later, she got a call saying that Kirra was frantic and they want to come home,
Yeah.
and so she went and picked him up. You don't remember that though?
I don't know. It kind of sounds possible, but I don't really know. I can't.
Because you're from Brisbane,
Yeah.
right? So what? Why were you guys in Gympie or Wolvi at the time? Like, what
We just
was there an event or something?
no. Kirra just invited us up, so we just decided to go
Yep.
stay the night up there. And it was just only us as well. There were no one else besides that night, besides me, the child, Kirra, and Mika.
And do you have any idea about times? Like, what time the big altercation happened when you guys decided to leave? Can you roughly put a time on that, or you don't know?
It wasn't that late at night, but I don't know a time. I can't remember a time, but I know that it wasn't 12 o'clock at night or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was dark, but not late.
Yeah.
Did you go home with Sam and Tamika back down to Brisbane, or did you stay at Bobby's house?
No, yeah. Sam came and picked us up and took us back down to Brisbane that night, early hours of the morning, I think.
You described to me that they were quite intoxicated. Like, how intoxicated, in your opinion? Are they, obliviated? Are they...
Yeah. and Mika were drunk. They were pretty drunk. I wouldn't say they were just ridiculously drunk, but they were intoxicated. Like Kirra, especially being someone that doesn't drink, she was really drunk, really drunk.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you remember any phone calls that night? When you were there, do you remember any phone calls that Kirra was making and speaking to her kids or speaking to her ex-husband?
No, I don't remember her making any phone calls at all. I wasn't necessarily watching her every move either, so she could have, but I don't remember her making any phone calls.
Do you remember any dialogue between those two, or what made Kirra become so enraged, or how did it escalate so far? Can you remember any dialogue?
No, I don't remember why they were arguing or bickering. He was sitting down on the chair and he wasn't yelling. The whole time this was actually all happening, he wasn't yelling. And when Kirra kept trying to go Mika, he was actually saying, I think that's why I never saw Mika hit Kirra. She says that she did, but I don't think she actually hit her in the first round. I only ever saw her shove Kirra in the chest. But the whole time that was happening, kept saying, don't hit her. She's not a fighter. She's not someone that can really defend herself properly. And
was saying that to Tamika?
Yeah, when Kirra kept going, Mika just kept saying, don't Mika, don't. She's not a fighter. She's not. And just all this. And so he wasn't yelling at all the whole time. He was actually really calm.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Threw it out at all. But, yeah.
Do you remember Kirra saying to Tamika, you know what you've done?
No.
And then Tamika mentioned to me that she didn't know what she had done and she didn't know why Kirra was so angry at her. Yeah,
Kirra did say something to Mika, and Mika was a bit like, what? I don't remember what it was, but that was in the afternoon, still daylight, and I pretty much told Kirra to shut up because it wasn't making sense what she was saying, and it was stupid. But I don't remember what it was, no.
And you'd never met Kirra before that day?
No.
And that entire time you didn't witness be aggressive or raise his voice or have any part of that altercation? It was just Tamika and Kirra?
Yeah, it was just Tamika and Kirra. But I don't doubt that when he went back and it was just him and Kirra, I'm not saying he did, but I don't doubt that he would have, because is like that, if that makes sense, with women, yeah.
And you mentioned before to me that you wanted to make it clear that you weren't on anyone's side.
Yeah, well, since that night, I don't speak to at all. My whole family know my opinion of him, so it's been years since I've spoken to him, and I haven't spoken to my auntie Tamika in about 2 years as well, because, I just don't. And I don't really know Kirra either, so I don't really have a side, really, just of what happened.
What about drugs that night? Was anybody on drugs or illicit substances?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure, because apparently there was a pill or something, but apparently they were just sugar pills. So, and Kirra took them as well, took it as well, and nothing came up in her system. So I think it just was a sugar pill.
Is that, like, did she express that she wanted to do something? Is that why that came about?
Yeah, and I remember being in the bathroom with just Kirra and I that night, and she watched her take it, but it must have just been like a sugar pill.
You don't think anybody else had the real deal, though?
No, I don't actually think so. But I didn't even know at the time that they were, like, not real.
Oh, so you thought they might have been taking a real drug at the time?
Yeah.
Do you still see Jane?
Yeah, I do. As often as possible, really.
Where do you think she stands in all this?
I don't know, really. I don't think she really talks to... She speaks to Tamika, of course, but I don't think she really has much to do with... I don't know. Just as a mum, I think it would just kind of hurt her a lot, the whole situation.
But it's not something you guys talk about as a family. Like, this, does this subject ever come up?
No, I actually haven't spoken about it for years. I recently spoke to my mum about it a couple of weeks ago. And then my mum rang me last night and we were kind of talking about it a little. And then, that's about it. This is the most I've spoken about it, really. It
was obviously probably quite traumatic for you.
Yeah.
Being 17 and...
Yeah, it's not a nice memory.
Did you think it was going to be, that was it, just a bad fight?
Yeah.
It's not nice, it's a bad fight, and that'll be it?
Yeah, well, my opinion was, Kirra's an idiot. They've just had a massive fight. This is just ridiculous. And then, I just thought that was it.
Okay.
I didn't think anything more. When we left, I didn't think we were going to find that news out the next day. Like, I was really shocked.
Walk me through finding out, like, what happened, who called you, and what did they tell you?
I didn't get a call. I was with Tamika, and she got a call. I think it was from Jane, like my grandmother. And, I just remember thinking, what? Like, just in shock, like, how? Because it wasn't, like, a big altercation between them. It wasn't like they were fully punching each other or anything like that. The most aggressive person was Kirra. But I don't think she even punched Mika or anything either. It was just more her throwing things, whatever her arms could reach, really just holding her back.
And when you were saying Kirra was like the most aggressive and being crazy, was that her, you didn't know her before, so was that like her intoxication level and what she was fighting about was just silly?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
I honestly believe that it was just because she doesn't drink and because she had drank so much that she was just, in an intoxic rage sort of thing. Because that day before she was drinking, she was really lovely, like really nice.
I mean, it's just an opinion, but do you have an opinion of what happened after returned?
I don't know. Once we left and, returned, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I really appreciate you coming on record and telling your story. Obviously, you were there, so it's crucial to get this.
Yep, that's okay.
I've also got something else I'd like to share with you. Something potentially huge. Around the same time I met with Tamika, someone else reached out to me. This person told me they knew Jason and was also a victim of his, and that he had confided in her. For her sake, I will call her Sally, and that's not her real name. Tamika and Sally had also started talking as a result of Jason, and Sally had told me certain things through Facebook, and that Jason had confessed to her. However, she didn't elaborate or go into any detail, but she did go into detail with Tamika, who subsequently read it out to me. Now, this next clip is extremely violent. If you are sensitive to graphic violence, skip forward about 50 seconds or so. Now, you will also hear Tamika's phone interfering with the recorder as she was reading from it. This is Tamika tape 3.
Babe, I know what he done to her at the house. He told me he broke down because he couldn't deal with it. He told me everything he done to her. She would still be here today if it wasn't for him. I know what her final hour would have been like. He's done it to me, and he knows full well he's done this. He's just not man enough to admit what I know, you know, and he knows. Us three are the only ones that know the truth. He's an evil monster, Mika. And Kirra, that poor girl, was beaten to death. Her head injuries are from him pounding her head on the ground over and over. He told me this, and when what happened, I would never lie to you, Mika. This is crime, not yours, okay? She sent that on the 31st of March, 5:55 p.m.
What year?
2019. Just gone. It was just before I'd spoken to yous. Because I felt like I was just running into dead ends all everywhere I've looked lately has just been dead ends, and I couldn't get anywhere and I didn't know what else to do. That's why I messaged Alison. I seen the article and it told me a lot more than I knew, because I didn't know the cause of death properly. I didn't know the 105 bruises. And
As soon as I heard this, the hairs on the back of my neck were standing up. It's huge. Potentially case-changing. As I said before, I wanted to hear this directly from Sally. Every time I tried to tee up a phone call, as she lived interstate, she would either not answer or change her mind. I do understand though, it's a traumatic part of her life, and she'd rather not go there. But just as I was preparing this episode, Sally agreed to talk. We arranged a time. I called. No answer. I text. No response. As frustrating as it is, I just can't confirm if it was said or it wasn't said, and what context was it said in. But something that stuck out to me is that Katie had told me in her episode, Watch the World Burn, that Jason had bashed her head into the ground also. You have heard from many people in this podcast. It's important to remember everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Remember, Jason will have his side of the story too. And for this reason, I recently sent another letter to Jason in prison, offering him the chance to participate in this podcast. And if I hear any response, you'll be the first to know. So it's Saturday the 26th of October, 2019, and I'm nearly at Alison's house. So when I started this journey, Tom and I started this podcast, we came out here to meet Alison off the record to get to know her. And then we came back and did our first recording. And so I guess it seems fitting to end it here too. I'm just entering her house and she's got a sign here saying trespassers will be eaten. And it's got a picture of a dog, so I'm guessing that's Reggie. And you know Reggie. He wouldn't eat anyone. And here's Reggie. Reggie! Hello! You're used to me now, aren't you, buddy? Say g'day, Reggie. Still saying g'day. Hey, Alison.
How are you?
Good, how are you? It's a beautiful day out here in southeast Queensland at Alison's house, and you've made me some chocolate brownie.
I have. Well, I didn't just make it for you. Henry and I had it last night. But
So how does this compare to the roadkill pie?
I don't know. You'll have to tell me.
Oh, that is good.
Thank you.
Roadkill pie was good too, though.
It was. But I need a couple more days preparation time for that one because I've got to all, get special stuff in. And
So I guess, Alison, the reason I came out here today was we've had a great journey together and got to know each other well. And the story isn't over, But I have to tell you, as far as the podcast goes, this next episode will be our last for the interim.
For the interim.
Because obviously I will keep updating as, let's hope, the coronial gets underway. I will keep posting updates. If there's ever a criminal proceeding after that, I will continue to broadcast on that.
Cool.
And the story isn't over. There is so much more to the story, but as far as broadcasting and the podcast goes, I'll just go around in circles if I keep... Like, everyone who's wanting to speak to me has already spoken to me, and they're the people who have a relevant... You know, there's no point going off on tangents about
Other things.
stuff. We just need to get to what... And I have to say, look, I'm very thankful, and Tom is as well, that you've allowed us to do this. And I know you say it's the other way around, but we had no experience. We came in here with nothing really, and you've allowed us to tell the story and opened up and, you know...
But it's never been just a story to you two, and so that's why I say to you, you know, you've done so much for me. You've found me support all around the world. You've you know, because of what you've done, I've met all these people and you know, I, as I said, I have support and kind words from people I've never even met. And that's really huge after, you know, 4.5 years of pushing it uphill and thinking that I was doing it all on my own. So, yeah, I do think it's the other way around.
Yeah. The thing that disappoints me is I really wanted to be able to come to you. When I called you and told you that Jason is in jail, I wanted to be able to deliver you that same message that someone is being charged, or at least a definitive answer as to what happened to Kirra. We have all these stories, we have all these versions, we have assumptions, but we don't have that definitive answer, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
You do, but as far as legal side of things.
Yeah, but as people say, you know, knowing it's one thing, proving it's another.
Yeah.
We just have to wait and see what the coronial office has to say, and hopefully they'll have a date for us soon that we can start getting this looked into in a bit more depth. We're still waiting now for the completion of the re-investigation by the police.
And as far as you believe, after that's done, that's when the coronial will start, is that right? Once they have all the information they're asking for?
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
I'm hoping so. So as long as the report goes in when they've said it will, then something should happen in the next few weeks. But I've found in the past that tends to be a bit of wishful thinking, because the date comes and goes and, oh, yes, it'll be May. Oh, it'll be August.
Yeah, nothing's urgent.
No.
In your experience?
Well, no. As they said, she's dead. It's not like we're going to bring her back.
That was said to you?
Yep. Lots of things were said to me, but I don't believe I'm allowed to say anything about that at the moment.
Do Kirra's kids still go to Warby School?
Yes.
Yeah.
Always have.
Always have, yeah. Cool. How many kids are at that school?
I think there's about 30.
Yeah.
From prep through to year 6.
So when you look at that, Kirra's kids make up 4 of those.
Only
30.
3 now, because one's gone to high school, but yes.
Right, okay.
Yes.
So I guess the significance of this is that when a mother suspiciously dies or is murdered or whatever you want to put it down to at this point of time, and 3 of 30 kids belong to her, that must make a huge...
Well, it was 4 when it happened,
yeah.
so yeah.
That must be huge for such a small community, right? It must have rattled the school.
Well, I would imagine so. I was kind of toing and froing, and life was pretty chaotic at that stage, because I'd been up here and then I had to go back down to New South Wales, and couldn't stand being away from the kids, so I had to get a place up here and toed and froed for another 6 months or whatever. And
Well, that's just putting some context for people who don't know the area. If 30 kids go to the school and 4 of them were Kirras,
yeah,
that's a very small. We're talking really rural here. Like,
yes,
it's very small.
very rural. I mean, we used to have, or Wolvo used to have a shop with a petrol Bowser, but that's since closed. So the school is really the only place of significance, I suppose you'd say, in Wolvo. Oh, there is a hall,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that's it. Yes, it's not a very big place.
So it's safe to say that Kirra's death has definitely impacted the Wolvi community in that regard then, of being so small.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've had people say to me, you know, oh, I should have done this, or I wish I'd done that. And everyone just sees it as such a great tragedy because she was such a little beacon of light, you know, and she just kind of glowed everywhere she went. Not to mention the fact she was usually pregnant, but...
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. 4 pregnancies in 4 kids in how many years?
6.
Yeah, that's good going.
That is good going. So, yeah, the 3 boys, but I knew there'd be more. So she got the pink one.
Yeah.
She just doesn't get to see it grow up.
No. And that's the...
Breaks my heart.
Yeah, that's the worst part of this whole thing. Like, no matter what happens or what we do, it's still going to leave a massive hole in your heart.
And theirs.
And theirs, yeah.
Like, you know, I'm a grown-up. I can kind of deal with it, but they're just kids.
Yeah, they have no choice in this at all.
Her daughter doesn't even remember her. She's angry that her brothers have memories of their mum that she doesn't have.
Yeah, that's hard to hear, because it's perfectly reasonable to be angry, you know, because her brothers have memory of her mum.
Yeah.
She doesn't. That would feel unfair.
Yes, and being like her mother and her mother before her and before her, we don't deal with unfair real well. We jump up and down and make a lot of noise about things, and yeah, she just needs to be able to channel her frustration and her anger in the right direction.
Yeah. That's a common theme that I'm hearing from all these interviewees, is that Kirra was a lovely and beautiful soul, but she was feisty, and she would stand up for herself, and she wouldn't take any shit.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess that's what probably you're probably like, and that's probably what your granddaughter's like.
Yeah, we're a bit like that.
Yeah.
But I think that's why it shocked everybody so much when it happened. Like, everybody who had grown up with her or whatever, known her when she was younger, it was like, but that's Kirra. How would she ever get into that situation? And I think that's one of the points that I want to get across. Like, I said to her, I don't know how many times, you know, once he raises a hand, he's out the door. Doesn't matter who he is, what he's done. It's like just not happening.
And that was a life lesson you tried to teach Kirra.
From the beginning, because I was single for most of the time that I was raising her. And I said to her, you know, you just, it's not on. And she knew that. And she was feisty and she was strong, and yet still she fell victim. So how does that happen? You know, it doesn't seem to matter how much you drill it into them.
Yeah, they're going to make their own decisions.
Well, yes, and I think also narcissists tend to prey on people when they're vulnerable.
And like Katie's story, that provided a lot of context surrounding domestic violence, not just in Kirra's situation, but in the global sense of it, because she talks about herself being strong-willed and, you know, stubborn and stands up for herself as well. But she, in that cycle of domestic violence,
also fell victim.
You think it's your fault, and you don't want to reach out. And that's what she said. The hardest thing was for me to swallow my pride and say, I need help. And that's why she stayed there for so long, because she didn't want to make that call and say, I'm in trouble here. And I think you said the same thing about Kirra. She didn't tell you these major concerns. And also she didn't tell Camel.
I
exactly
tend
what's
to
happening.
believe she was trying to protect everybody, because for Kirra not to share something like that with me was unheard of. As I said, it was just the two of us most of her life. So apart from the 2 brief years I was married, that does tend to make you very close. Plus, we're very alike.
Well, that's the cruel thing about domestic violence in any nature, that it's a cycle. There will be the honeymoon phase, then something will brew. It'll brew, it'll just bust. It'll be this massive blow up, but then it's all apologies and falling in love again, and it just keeps happening like that. And I think...
And he says he's sorry and he won't do it again and all that stuff. Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm just old and calloused to the world, but no, there's things I won't tolerate. I'd rather be single.
It's a big issue in our society, domestic violence, how it can go on.
It's massive. And the thing is, it's not just education, because I did that. It's not just educating the women. I think it's, we need to work on the men, and not all of them. Present company excluded.
Yeah.
But, most of them. And while ever you've got men in the positions of power, changes aren't going to be made. And while ever they don't give appropriate sentences for animals who do the sort of thing that killed my daughter, until they get serious, it's not going to stop.
This doesn't go anywhere. Do you take any comfort in what it's done to some people's lives already, like the people who have reached out, who have been in a similar situation, or who have just reached out to you and disclosed anything to you? Or
I think it's been therapeutic for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, myself, it goes beyond therapeutic. It's ridiculous. Because I was told not to talk about it, so I did as I was told, which is not really that common. But I did. And then you came along and it was like, feel free to talk about it. So I haven't stopped since, really. And I think a lot of the other people as well that have come forward, they've felt like they were kind of holding on to a secret and were able to then get that out.
Yeah.
I think it's been, I won't say rewarding, but certainly beneficial to lots of people. And the fact is that the world now knows who Kirra is, and not just because of the way she died.
No, that's right. It's just really good to know that, and I can't say it enough, that when I first was going to do this podcast, you type in Kirra McLaughlin and you get like one Gympie Times article.
Yep.
And maybe one Kirra Mail. They're all the same article, but they were just the one, maybe one or two. That's it. And now there's, several Gympie Times articles, there's several Kirra Mails, there's, a
podcast things, there's all sorts of things.
In the making, there's...
She can't just be ignored. They can't just let that go, or that kind of behaviour. They can't let that go.
No.
It's just not acceptable.
I think we can all agree on that, no matter your background, your beliefs, where you're from, it's not acceptable. Someone can't die without a reason.
Well, you would like to think so.
Yeah.
So I don't know what reason would be sufficient to do what was done, but...
Well, that's the $1 million question, and I'd love to ask it.
Yeah, well... Sometimes we don't get the answers, do we?
No. It wouldn't be a very good reason, though.
I don't think so.
So we just walked down to see Kirra's garden that Alison has recently completed, right?
Not
quite
quite.
completed?
Not quite. Nearly there. But bird of paradise, that's because she had that in her wedding bouquet, and Mum had a plant at her place. The pink flowers, the second eldest son picked out the other week, and they've gone berserk.
Yeah.
This is my little Japanese kind of area in honour of her trip to Japan and all that kind of stuff. This is a climbing frangipani, which I'd never heard of, and I thought I'd killed it, but it's actually
Survived.
it's thriving.
Yeah,
It's not just surviving.
Yep.
And then we got this. I got the name made.
Kirra. And that's a picture of Kirra and Genevieve, isn't it?
It is. And I was just talking to Genevieve yesterday, and I said how lovely it is that I have her down here with Kirra, because they were inseparable.
Front and centre.
So, yep, that's what I've done there. I've got 2 more garden boxes going in the corners with different things going in them. And hopefully my bat plant will come good. It's not looking very well, but
And
yeah.
and purple fence. So what's the significance of purple? Is that just...
Oh, we just liked purple. And I painted her room purple and blue at one stage. She was going through a big Monsters Inc. phase, and this is probably the very same purple that her walls were painted. So, yeah, just purple kind of reminds me of her. Yeah. I don't know that it wasn't her favourite colour, but I, yeah, she did like it. So, and that fell down a little bit crooked, and I thought that was probably appropriate, so I've left it there.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah, what is that?
This?
Yeah.
This is, I found it, I don't even know what you... Oh, I'm so glad that didn't land on my toe.
Big bit of timber.
Oh, yeah, I found it in a shop one day, and I had to buy it, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but that's obviously what it's meant for. So,
Awesome. So this is your place for Kirra.
This is, and when it's finished, it'll kind of be a bit more enclosed. And then I've got the lounge over here.
Yep.
So I can just sit here. I want to get a hanging egg chair, but that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll have the 2 boxes here with the passion fruit and this thing and I've got the sign that we got made. So that's got the little nightlight, the solar flower there.
Awesome.
At night, and I want to get some fairy lights eventually as well. But yeah, that's the
looking good.
garden. It's come a long way since you last saw it. That's
Definitely.
for sure.
Yep. It's great.
Yeah. So
Good job.
thank you.
What do you think, Reggie? What do you think, mate?
What is that thing? Get it away from me. Yeah, it's very unique and different, just like she was.
Yeah.
There won't be another one like it in the world.
No.
I just don't want people to forget about her while all this is just stewing and waiting for things to happen. She's not to be forgotten.
No, and we've come too far for that to happen. We've opened too many doors.
You sure have.
You have as well.
We did it together.
We did. So yeah, Alison, it's not goodbye. It's just goodbye for the podcast. And yeah, again, thank you, sincerely.
You are more than welcome, and thank you sincerely.
And yeah, give me a hug. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
Stay
Anytime.
in touch. I hope we can get that result one day.
Let's hope.
We have to hope. See you, Reggie.
More hope now than we ever had before.
We did. We do. See you, buddy. Take care of yourself, mate. I saw your warning sign at the front of the gate here. I have to be hopeful that one day Kirra's family will have closure, if there's even such a thing. I need to remember where this whole thing started, and that was with very little. We are now a step closer to a resolution than ever before. And as I leave Alison's house, I remember that the world will move on. You will move on. But Alison and Kirra's kids are stuck here. And this journey, it's taught me so much. It's taught Tom so much. And I'm so grateful for this experience, the people I've met and the lessons learned. The story isn't over. Kirra's story is not over. But until the rest is told, may she rest in peace. There's a long list of people I need to thank for this podcast, but in particular there's a few. Pete Allen, thank you so much for providing your song Piece of Heaven. It's so well fitted for our podcast. Mate, you're a brilliant artist. All of our listeners agree. And I really encourage everybody out there to support him by following him on social media and also on music platforms. Go and see him live even. He's fantastic, he's talented, and he's the real deal. And thanks to Johnny Power, our audio engineer. Mate, you mix and master every episode amazingly. If you guys could hear our edits before he touches them, it's chalk and cheese. So thanks again, Johnny. Alison, this podcast wouldn't be possible without you. You've been very brave and gave us access to your life and basically told us anything we needed to know. And I really appreciate that. And I sincerely hope the best for you in your future and for an outcome for Kirra's case. Tommy Daunt, mate, thank you so much for your advice, your input, your support, encouragement. I know this project's been particularly tough, but I can't wait to do future projects with you. And obviously my family, including Renee, my wife. You've put up with lots of extra hours and I couldn't have done it without you, so take care, guys. Peace out. Beenham Valley Road is a 610 media production. This episode was written, recorded and produced by myself, Jamie Potts. It was mixed and mastered by Johnny Powell. Our theme song, Piece of Heaven, is by Pete Allen Music. You can find him on all social medias and download his music wherever you listen. Our cover art photo was taken by Joel Pulse. You can head to our website, www.610mediagroup.com, to look at pictures and read our blogs. Also check us out on social media at Beenham Valley Road for Instagram and Beenham Valley Road for Facebook. And please, guys, don't forget, give us a rating and review on iTunes or Spotify, wherever you listen. It really helps us out. So thanks again for listening, guys, and stay tuned.
A 1,000 miles are there to tell me. 2,000 eyes are staring too. And oh, this time I'm floating over the world, and no one can judge me up here. When I come down, it starts all over again. It's just temporary, but it's worsening, I know. Oh, I know. I've got myself a piece of heaven. I'm gonna take you to the sea. I'm gonna build myself a castle with sand and shells, sticks and weed. And lock my thoughts up in the tower. So I know they're safe and sound. I build my walls taller and taller, just in case someone's around. And all this time I'm floating over the world, and no one can judge me up here. just temporary, but it was sudden, I know. Oh, I know, all my friends are getting heavy. Intervention's on its way. Well, can't they see it's complicated? I guess I'll have to run away. I'm gonna catch a train to nowhere town. I'm gonna hide under a rock and play my blues out of the pavement while I'm catching money in a sock. And all this time I'm floating over the world, and no one can judge me up here. When I come out, it starts all over again. It's just temporary, but it was sudden. It's just temporary, but it was sudden, I know.